Hi, welcome to Tuesday Trash Talk. My name is Cheryl Baldwin and I'm with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, as well as I run the What's In, What's Out program for the Recycle CT Foundation. Today we're talking about cartons and whether or not they can go in or out and why not. But first, before we start, I want to make sure that you know if you have a topic you want me to cover in the future, by all means, add it in the comments section and I'll do some research for you. So, cartons. So, first, what are they? Well, they're a type of packaging that's made out of paper. And so, I'll start with some interesting facts, because I can't help myself, related to the trash timeline. So today we're also going to be covering some resources for schools, so I couldn't resist putting in information from the trash timeline, which is sometimes a resource we use when we do school professional development workshops. So let me double check. It was in 1551, that's right, the year 1551, that it was first recorded the use of paper for packaging. It was a German paper maker named Andreas Bernhard, and in 1551 he began placing his product, his paper, in a wrapper with his name, labeled with his name and address. So that was 1551. However, by 1936 we begin to see milk arriving in cartons. And so a carton is basically a paper container, but not all paper containers are in. So we're going to review them. First, basic milk cartons. This is referred to in the industry as a gable top carton. Gable top because it's the same term that you might see in architecture or in housing design where there's a gable. You would open it, drink it, etc. And what about the ones with the plastic spout and the plastic top? These are also in. However, you must remember that if the bottle cap is loose, it should go in the trash. But if it's on the container, it's in. And so those are the basic cartons that we're aware of. You might also get it with juice and other types of milk products. All of these materials are in. So what about these types of containers? Often I refer to these as juice boxes. This particular one is not a juice box, it's an alternative to milk, but it's the same type of material. In the industry, we might call this aseptic packaging or aseptic boxes. And these are basically stable shelf containers, meaning that we find them in the middle of the grocery store, if you will, on the regular aisles, and they're unrefrigerated. And they don't need to be refrigerated until we open them. All of these containers, this is coconut water or alternative milk or broth or juice, are all acceptable in the program. These are all in. If you do have a juice box, I ask you to remove the straw first before you put it in the bin. So what types of cartons are out? Good question. Sadly, ice cream cartons. I can only assume it's been summer and we're all sort of, semi-quarantine or quarantining. I know some of us are getting out and going to the beach and hiking, but we still sometimes just need our ice cream. And sadly, these are out. These are not acceptable. And I think I've talked about how when you talk about fiber or paper, when we look at the recycling cycle, you think of it in terms of we put it on the curb, it gets picked up, or the transfer station, it gets picked up by a hauler or a collector, it's brought to a facility, the materials are separated and processed, and then they're put in bales, and they have to meet a specification, right? They need to have all the newsprint together or all the cardboard together, and the newsprint and the cardboard can't be mixed. And all of these are meeting a specification. That specification is so that the manufacturer who wants it only gets newsprint or only gets cartons, and no ice cream cartons can be in there. And then that manufacturer makes their product. So in the case of cartons, ice cream is out of it. It's not considered part of the grade. And so if we have a MRF facility making, it's actually referred to as grade 52, a grade of just all cartons, it excludes these. They can't put these in. Why not, you ask? I asked the same question. So I reached out to the Carton Council, and the Carton Council said it has to do with the wet strength. It has to do with how this paper is manufactured and created that is different from milk cartons or juice cartons. Even though our eye looks at it and we see the same thing, it's not. Chemically, there's something different about it, and you cannot use it for the manufacturing process, which a lot of manufacturers make products. So that gets to the fact of why we need to recycle cartons more than ever. We know that a lot of materials are required by law. Cartons are not a mandatory item. However, they are an essential item. We often see the lack, we see in the papers the lack of tissue paper, or maybe paper towels is what I've been reading recently. And these materials are made from cartons. And these materials are essential for manufacturers. They need these as feedstocks to be able to make their product. I mean, if I was making paper, which I do, I love making paper just for fun. I take junk mail and I rip it up, and I even sort it by color, so I've got like the yellow and the pink and whatever else might come in the mail. Well, what if I didn't have any junk mail? Well, then I couldn't make paper. It's the same thing for manufacturers. If they rely on cartons to make their product and we're not putting them in the recycling bin, then that's a problem, especially now more than ever, because we have a lot of recycling programs across the country that have stopped or suspended because of the pandemic. Connecticut is not one of them. Connecticut is important because we provide essential materials to manufacturers. And not only are we providing it for manufacturers that might be out of state, making tissue or other paper products, we now have a new manufacturer that's opening up shop in Connecticut. That's right. Pretty cool. Crazy time to be opening up a new business, but there they are. And they're a little bit delayed. I heard that they wanted to open up this summer, but due to the pandemic, they were having some challenges getting all their equipment in their factory. But they're going to be making architectural ceiling tile, or architectural tile, which I believe is for ceilings. I would have to double check on that. But they can't make them unless they get enough cartons. So that brings in schools. You know what? It doesn't matter the size of the container. All are needed as products, or all are needed as feedstocks for the manufacturer in Connecticut as well as other manufacturers. So it's a crazy time for schools. I know that. We have schools that are going back full time, in person, some are doing hybrids, and some are completely virtual. However, our children are still eating breakfast and or lunch. And with that, we are seeing that schools or cities and towns are still distributing food, which includes milk cartons. So I want you to know that if your milk carton goes home and you're eating your meal at home, that is still acceptable in the program. And if you're at school, it's acceptable in the school. It's how we collect it that might be changing because of the current situation. So good news. There are resources for schools that are looking to do carton recycling. The Carton Council, Recycle Cartons, it's an S, recyclecartons.com, has a webpage specifically for schools. Not only do they have some activity guides to help your classroom do some math and figure out how many cartons you generate a day or how many cartons you generate in a week, and I would imagine that you could modify them, especially if maybe you're doing meals at home 3 times a week and twice at school, or however you guys are doing it, because every school is going to be different. But you can calculate how many cartons you generate and whether or not you think it's important. I think it's important for all cartons to be recovered for recycling. And we ask a few things of you. First, make sure they're empty. Don't want any milk. Don't want any juice. Juice boxes are a little bit harder. You're going to have to squeeze out that liquid. And then no straw, and definitely no package. None of that crinkly plastic that the straw came in. Keep it just to the cartons. The other thing is, if you're at home, consider rinsing them. If you're at school and rinsing is hard, that's okay. Just make sure that they're empty. And did I mention that there are grants? Carton Council also has grants available for schools that are trying to figure out how to do this now. And they have a lot of resources and a lot of experience in how to manage this material despite the challenges that we have with the pandemic. So I encourage you to think about setting up a recycling program to collect those cartons, whether it be in the classroom or the cafeteria or at home, and that there are resources there for you. And thank you very much, because of course they're not mandatory, but carton recycling is essential. I thank you very much, and I hope you learned something today, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Tuesday Trash Talk.